Have you ever wondered how an ordinary cartoon, which you watch just to relax, can unexpectedly turn into a tool for predicting the future? That's exactly what happens with The Simpsons. The characters from Springfield have repeatedly surprised us with events that later came true, outpacing even the boldest forecasts. Politics, technology, major world events. It seems like they have their own magical crystal ball. In this video, we will analyze how The Simpsons managed to predict the future and which of their storylines have amazingly come to life. Get ready for an exciting investigation. The attack on the Twin Towers. The premiere of the first episode of the 9th season of The Simpsons, titled The City of New York vs. Homer Simpson, took place on September 21st, 1997. This episode turned out to be prophetic a few years later. In one of the scenes, Homer is offered tickets to New York for just $9. On the magazine cover, the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center are depicted, creating a visual image of the number 9/11, and Lisa's hair peeking over the magazine resembles the triangular shape of the Masonic symbol, the all-seeing eye. 4 years later, on September 11th, a terrible terrorist attack occurred that shook the entire world. The attacks on the Twin Towers in New York. Many believe that the creators of the cartoon somehow foresaw these tragic events. The war in Syria. In the 14th episode of the 12th season, which aired on February 25, 2001, New Kids on the Block, Bart Simpson founded a group called the Party Posse, sponsored by the U.S. Navy. During the filming of the music video for the song, Dropped a Bomb, the group members had to fly in military planes and strike armed people in military uniforms. In the storyline, one of the bombs hits an SUV with a flag painted on the door, which 10 years later was used by Syrian opposition forces. A green-white-black tricolor with 3 5-pointed red stars in the center of the white stripe. In the same series, a fighter jet is shown with a number consisting of 2 identical letters pages. Several years later, the American military introduced the F-22 aircraft. If you flip the letters PP, you get BB, which corresponds to the number 22. It's interesting to note that during airstrikes in Syria, the F-22 Raptor was used for the first time. The latest American fifth-generation fighter, whose production began in 1997. By February 2015, the F-22 had completed at least 112 combat missions over Syrian territory. By June 2015, the F-22 had become an integral part of all bomber groups participating in attacks on Syria. Dependence on gadgets. In the episode, Friends and Family, from the animated series, The Simpsons, the theme of risks associated with excessive fascination with virtual reality is raised, foreshadowing potential problems of the 2030s. In this episode, Homer and Marge try VR technology that simulates the taste of food. Homer, initially skeptical, notices that the virtual dishes leave much to be desired. Despite expectations that such technologies could reduce the consumption of unhealthy food, real companies like and Royal Caribbean have started using them to enhance their service. Nevertheless, the cartoon also highlights the negative aspects accidents caused by pedestrians distracted by VR headsets, and the loss of real social connections due to immersion in virtual worlds. The issue of addiction to gadgets is becoming increasingly relevant, isn't it? The evolution of transportation. In the year 2005, Professor Frink introduced the world to an innovative car that opened new horizons for Bart and Lisa. 6 years later, in 2013, Marge decided to break up with Homer due to his extravagant spending. First, he invested the family fortune in underwater housing, then in futuristic flying devices. Homer tried to justify himself. Sometimes people just drift apart, that's all. But Bart countered, "No, Dad. Mom left because you lost all our money on that underwater house. Although this car is far from perfect, it is capable of transporting its passengers to a quantum tunnel." In the 1992 episode, Itchy and Scratchy Land, the final scene predicted events 40 years into the future. There we see an older Homer and Bart heading to a movie theater, where they encounter a vehicle reminiscent of the transport from Star Trek. The flying cars that look quite ordinary, considering that the development of hovercars has been ongoing for many years, and such a concept might soon become a reality. Meanwhile, the Samsung Sky Company is preparing to launch its first flying cars on the market. It's quite possible that by 2020, we will be able to avoid city traffic jams thanks to these advanced vehicles. The collapse of society. one of the most discussed moments among fans became a short episode from the 14th episode of the 23rd season, Finally Vacation, where Bart Simpson writes on the wall the phrase, "I like the collapse of society." This statement provokes different interpretations. Some see in it a reflection of Bart's rebellious spirit and a tendency towards antisocial behavior. Others see a deeper meaning in it, related to social processes such as identity crisis, loss of traditional values, and the strengthening of individualism. The show's creator, Matt Groening, is often associated with anarchistic views. Perhaps he foresaw upcoming global crises or disasters, capable of shaking the social order. However, this is just one possible interpretation of the scene. It is not excluded that the phrase was inserted into the episode as a joke or a way to express the character's dissatisfaction with current events. Time will tell how accurate the viewer's assumptions were. Environmental crisis. In the feature film, The Simpsons movie, from 2007, Years witness a series of unusual events, many of which can be seen as prophecies. Special attention is drawn to the central plot of the film, related to the global environmental catastrophe, presented in an exaggerated artistic form, yet nonetheless reflecting quite realistic future scenarios. The main character of this story is Homer Simpson, who exacerbates the problem of lake pollution in Springfield by dumping waste from his pig farm into it. These actions lead to the onset of a large-scale environmental crisis, as a result of which the entire city ends up being trapped under a massive dome. Although the idea of the dome seems fantastical, the nature of the catastrophe itself serves as a warning for modern society. Today, when climate change and its destructive consequences caused by human activity become increasingly apparent, it is clear how important the issue addressed in the film remains. The irresponsible behavior of corporations and the neglect of natural resources continue to harm our planet, threatening human life and ecosystems. The conquest of Mars. Space exploration enthusiasts have long dreamed of traveling to Mars and establishing a habitable settlement there. Although the actual colonization of the Red Planet is still ahead, one episode of The Simpsons presents a fantastical scenario in which Lisa and Marge go to Mars to establish a new colony. When Marge learns about Lisa's plans to participate in the Martian mission, she feels overwhelmed. Ultimately, the entire Simpson family decides to join the project to stay close to Lisa. The mission's goal is to colonize Mars by the year 2026. However, despite delays, according to the show's plot, Lisa and Marge reach the Red Planet only by the year 2051. Meanwhile, nonetheless, Lisa declares her desire to move from Mars to Venus. "It's my life," Lisa asserts. "And if I decide to move from Mars to Venus, no one will stop me." Perhaps Elon Musk watched this episode, as his company is actively working on creating interstellar ships capable of realizing such ambitious projects into reality. The era of holograms. In the episode, Bart to the Future, Bart Simpson, known for his laziness, unexpectedly receives an offer to perform with his musical group at a club. The invitation comes in the form of a holographic message, adding a high-tech novelty element to the usual interaction process. In this episode, Bart glimpses into his possible future, which, although far from ideal, contains one interesting detail: mail delivery. The mailman brings him a virtual letter created using holograms. The interaction ends with an unusual farewell, "Smell you later," which replaces the traditional goodbye. Bart is surprised by such a change. It's interesting why instead of the usual goodbye, they now say "I'll smell you later." It's important to note that holographic communication technologies are gradually becoming part of our everyday life. The question remains open whether holograms will become part of our regular communications in the future. Work with artificial intelligence. The topic of mass implementation of robots with artificial intelligence, widely discussed by experts, has found its reflection in pop culture, including the animated series The Simpsons. In 2012, the show's creators predicted that robots would start replacing human jobs, and now this trend is becoming increasingly noticeable. One of the striking examples is the 1994 episode titled Itchy and Scratchy Land, where the Simpson family visits a theme park entirely run by robots. During the plot, the machines go out of control, showcasing both the capabilities and the risks of such technologies, reminiscent of the world of Westworld. Jürgen Schmidhuber, a leading expert in artificial Intelligence believes that the development of superintelligence could lead to significant technological changes and profound social transformations. Intelligence within the next 30 years. A female president of the United States. In the 2016 episode, the characters of The Simpsons hinted at a possible political career for Ivanka Trump when Homer Simpson wore a badge that read Ivanka 2020. 8. Later, in 2017, in an episode dedicated to the first 100 days of Donald Trump's presidency, Ivanka took the place of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the Supreme Court, dressed in a robe and earrings from her own jewelry collection worth $1,000. Hopes that a woman will become the president of the United States continue to grow, and in 2025, they could become a reality. Although Hillary Clinton did not achieve this goal in her time, the likelihood of a woman in the White House is increasing. In one of the episodes, where viewers are briefly transported to the future, Lisa Simpson becomes the first female president of America. According to The Simpsons, a woman could indeed become president. Although the prediction about Kamala Harris's victory did not come true, Donald Trump won the election again in 2024. The episode Bart to the Future, which aired in 2000, allowed Bart to see his future, where Lisa is trying to deal with the financial problems left by the Trump administration. So it's quite possible that Ivanka could become president, following in her father's footsteps. The Simpsons have repeatedly amazed us with their mysterious predictions. Now let's see which of them have already come true. The Tiger attack. For Russian viewers, this prediction might not seem very significant. However, for American viewers, this episode holds special significance. In the episode Springfield, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Fell in Love with Legalized Gambling on the 5th season, which aired on December 16, 1993, the creators of The Simpsons predicted a tragedy involving a tiger attack on famous trainers Siegfried and Roy, whose circus performances in Las Vegas were incredibly popular in the 1990s and early 2000s. In this episode, Montgomery Burns opens a casino in Springfield and invites a German duo of tamers named Gunter and Ernst, clearly inspired by Siegfried and Roy, to perform shows. During one of the acts, a white tiger attacks one of the performers. This incident, described in the series, is surprisingly accurately repeated in real life. On October 3, 2003, during a live show in Las Vegas, a tiger attacked Roy Horn. The submarine tragedy. 2 years before the infamous Kursk submarine disaster. On March 29, 1998, on American television, an episode was shown in which Homer Simpson joins the Naval Reserves and unintentionally heads out on a submarine into Russian territorial waters. The situation escalates quickly when the crew mistakenly perceives a routine maneuver as preparation for a missile strike, leading to a tense standoff between the US and Russia. Fox became part of Disney. It's one of those predictions that, while not the most sensational, still turned out to be accurate. In the 10th season episode titled When You Wish Upon a Star, which aired on November 8, 2008, The Simpsons unexpectedly predicted Disney's purchase of the 20th Century Fox studio. In December 2017, Disney actually announced the acquisition of this company for an impressive $52 billion. This merger combined two of the largest media corporations, and Disney acquired the rights to Fox's extensive content library, including The Simpsons themselves, video calls, and smartwatches. In the episode Lisa's Wedding from the 6th season, which aired on March 19, 1995, the creators of The Simpsons made an interesting prediction about video calls and smartwatches. In this episode, set in the future, Lisa uses a video call to communicate with her family. At that time, such technology was rare, and the scene seemed extremely futuristic. Moreover, Lisa's fiancé wears a device resembling a watch that functions as a communication tool, reminiscent of modern smartwatches. Today, with the proliferation of smartphones and applications like Skype and FaceTime, video calls have become an everyday practice. Smartwatches have also gained popularity and have become a fashionable accessory that not only tells time but also tracks physical activity, notifies about messages, and even allows making calls. The Ebola virus. In the episode of The Simpsons, Treehouse of Horror 8 from the 9th season, which aired on October 26, 1997, the creators of The Simpsons made an unsettling prediction about an Ebola virus outbreak. In one of the scenes, Marge is reading a book titled Curious George and the Ebola virus. At that time, the Ebola virus was not widely known, and this reference went almost unnoticed. However, years later, in 2014, the world faced a serious Ebola outbreak that predominantly affected West Africa. This epidemic caused widespread panic due to the high mortality rate and the lack of effective treatments. Although the situation did not quite match what was shown in The Simpsons, the mere mention of the Ebola virus in an episode filmed many years before the actual events is striking. Writers or predictors, the creators of The Simpsons can be credited with a special talent for foresight, as many of their predictions have subsequently come true. However, not all of them have a positive connotation. What awaits us in the year 2025 and beyond, we can only find out with time. That's all for today. Goodbye, everyone.